Bugatti didn't think that we were going to be able to separate this car in half and put it back together.
You can't do that in a garage. There's just a few places in the world with the right equipment to be able to do that.
But we managed to do both of them, and on top of that, we managed to get it even started.
The engineer on the other end of the line goes quiet for just a moment too long. Then he says it clearly, almost politely. We don't sell those components separately, and we won't. Matt Armstrong is holding a phone in one hand and staring at a $250,000 Bugatti Veyron with a shattered underbody, a destroyed subframe, and absolutely no legal way to fix it. Bugatti's message is not complicated. If you crash one of our cars badly enough, you don't repair it. You return it to us, accept the total loss, and we decide what happens next. You don't own the car in the way you think you do. You're a custodian. And if you break the rules, the most exclusive brand in the world will simply refuse to help you.
But we just don't think it's safe, and that's why we can't support it.
What Matt does next will determine whether that Veyron ever moves again. But it will also expose something Bugatti never intended the public to see: how completely the supercar world controls the people who think they own the machines. This is not a story about a man fixing a car. This is a story about what happens when someone refuses to accept that some things are not meant to be fixed by outsiders. And it begins years before that phone call in a place most people would never associate with Bugatti engineering. A small garage in Derbyshire, England, owned by a 20-something YouTuber with a GoPro and a suspiciously optimistic smile. Matt Armstrong's entire brand was built on a simple, almost reckless premise: buy wrecked supercars at auction, fix them in his driveway, and film the whole process for an audience that grew faster than anyone expected. Lamborghinis with flooded engines, Ferraris with front-end damage, Range Rovers that had been rolled, written off, and left for dead. The appeal was not just the spectacle, it was the accessibility. Matt did not speak like an engineer. He spoke like a lad from the Midlands who got lucky, worked hard, and figured things out with his mates. No sponsorships from manufacturers, no official training, just resourcefulness, eBay parts, and an unshakable belief that anything could be rebuilt if you were stubborn enough. His audience loved it, and for years that model worked. He bought cheap, fixed smart, sold high, and repeated. But there was a ceiling to that world, a threshold built not from skill, but from access. And the moment Matt decided to buy a Bugatti Veyron, he crossed it. Here is what most people do not understand about Bugatti. The brand does not operate like other manufacturers. It does not want volume. It does not want mass appeal. It doesn't even particularly want you to drive the car hard. What Bugatti wants is control over the image, over the ownership experience, over who gets to be part of the family and who gets frozen out. Bugatti Veyrons are not sold to just anyone. Buyers are vetted, service is centralized, and if something goes wrong, the company expects you to come back to them, hat in hand, wallet open. The entire system is designed to remind you you are not just buying engineering. You are buying access to a world where the rules are different, where exclusivity is the product, and where independence is quietly discouraged. Matt did not get that memo, or if he did, he ignored it. When the Veyron arrived on a flatbed truck, it was clear this was not a cosmetic rebuild. The underside of the car was destroyed. The subframe, a piece of carbon fiber reinforced structure that holds the engine, transmission, and rear suspension, was cracked in multiple places. On a normal car, you would order a replacement part, bolt it in, and move on. But this was not a normal car, and Bugatti was not a normal company. The first call to Bugatti's official service department was professional. Matt explained the damage, he asked for part numbers, he offered to pay full price. The answer came back clean and final: no. Bugatti does not sell structural components to private buyers. If the car is damaged to that extent, it must be returned to the factory in Molsheim, France, where Bugatti technicians will assess it, repair it using proprietary methods, and bill you an amount that may exceed the car's current market value. Or, more likely, they will suggest you accept the total loss and move on. What they will not do is hand over the parts and let some YouTuber from Derbyshire attempt to repair in his garage. That refusal was not about safety, it was about control. Bugatti's entire brand depends on mystique. If every crashed Veyron could be rebuilt in a shed using aftermarket solutions and clever fabrication, the aura collapses. The $2 million price tag starts to look arbitrary, the service costs start to seem absurd, and the idea that only Bugatti can maintain a Bugatti begins to feel like a business model, not an engineering necessity. Matt understood this immediately, and instead of accepting it, he made a decision that most people in his position would never consider. If Bugatti would not sell him the parts, he would make them himself. Stop here for a moment, because this is where the story splits into two versions. In one version, Matt Armstrong is a stubborn DIY hero taking on a corporate giant that wants to gatekeep automotive repair. In that version, Bugatti is the villain, and every refusal to help is proof of greed and arrogance. But in the other version, Matt is attempting something genuinely dangerous, reverse engineering safety-critical components on one of the most complex cars ever built, filling it for millions of viewers, and gambling that his fabrication skills are good enough to replace what a team of French engineers spent years perfecting. Both versions are true, and that tension is what makes the story so uncomfortable to watch. The subframe on a Bugatti Veyron is not a simple part. It's a load-bearing structure made from carbon fiber and aluminum, designed to handle the forces of an 8.0-liter quad-turbocharged V16 engine producing over 1,000 horsepower. It manages heat, vibration, torsional load, and crash energy. Bugatti does not publish detailed schematics. They do not release CAD files. They do not explain their layup schedules, resin types, or curing processes. The entire design is proprietary, for good reason. If you get it wrong, the car doesn't just break, it fails catastrophically, at speed, possibly killing the driver. Matt did not have access to any of that information. What he had was a damaged subframe, a set of calipers, a 3D scanner borrowed from a friend, and a composite fabrication specialist in the UK who was willing to take on the project. Together, they began the process of creating a replica part. They scanned the broken subframe to generate a digital model. They identified the materials Bugatti likely used based on visual inspection and publicly available patents. They built molds, they laid up carbon fiber by hand, they cured it, they test-fitted it, and then, after weeks of trial and error, they had something that looked dimensionally like the original part. But looking like the part and being the part are not the same thing. Bugatti's engineers had access to finite element analysis software, crash test data, material certifications, and decades of institutional knowledge. Matt had YouTube comments, intuition, and hope. And yet, he had no other option. So he bolted the fabricated subframe into the car and kept building. The videos documenting this process racked up millions of views. The comment sections were split. Half the audience cheered him on, the other half warned him he was going to die. Some viewers with engineering backgrounds pointed out that without proper testing, there was no way to know if the subframe would survive a hard launch, let alone a crash. Others argued that Bugatti's refusal to sell parts was anti-consumer and anti-repair, and that Matt was doing a public service by proving that these cars could be fixed outside the factory. Both sides were talking past each other. Because the real question was not whether Matt could fabricate a subframe, it was whether he should, and whether Bugatti's refusal to help him was about safety or about protecting a business model that depends on owners having no alternative. Here is what Bugatti would never say publicly. They do not want cheap Veyrons in circulation. They do not want amateur rebuilds. They do not want the brand associated with salvage titles, budget fixes, or YouTubers in hoodies. The entire value proposition of a Bugatti is that it exists in a different realm. And if that realm becomes accessible to anyone with a welder and a dream, the illusion shatters. So, when Bugatti refuses to sell parts, they are not just protecting their intellectual property, they are protecting their position at the top of a hierarchy that only works if most people are kept out. Matt did not care about the hierarchy. He cared about the car, and that fundamental difference in priority is what made the conflict inevitable. Bugatti operates in a world where image, heritage, and exclusivity are the product. Matt operates in a world where the product is the car itself and everything else is noise. Those two worlds cannot coexist. One of them has to bend. The fabricated subframe was installed, the engine was reconnected, the fuel system was bled, the cooling system was refilled, and after months of work, the moment came. Matt turned the key. The W16 engine roared to life. 16 cylinders, 4 turbochargers, and over 1,000 horsepower, all sitting on a subframe that Bugatti never touched, never approved, and never wanted to exist. The car ran. It idled smoothly, the diagnostics showed no faults, and for a brief, glorious moment, it seemed like Matt had won. But then came the question no one wanted to ask out loud. Is it safe? Not does it work, but will it hold together at 200 miles per hour? And the honest answer is no one knows. Bugatti would not test it. No independent lab would certify it, and Matt, for all his skill and confidence, could not know for certain that his fabricated part would perform the same way as the original under extreme load. He could hope, he could believe, but he could not know. That uncertainty is the price of independence. When you step outside the system, you lose the safety net. Bugatti's refusal to sell parts is infuriating, yes, but it also means that every Veyron repaired through official channels is backed by engineering data, crash testing, and liability coverage. Matt's Veyron has none of that. It has craftsmanship, determination, and a YouTube audience cheering him on. And if something goes wrong, he will be alone. Some viewers called him reckless, others called him a hero. But the people who understood the deeper implications stayed quiet because they recognized that this was not just about one car. This was about the future of automotive repair in an industry increasingly controlled by manufacturers who do not want you to fix what you own. Bugatti is extreme, yes, but Tesla does the same thing with software locks. Ferrari does it with service requirements. Porsche does it with coded parts. The entire industry is moving toward a model where ownership is conditional, repairs are centralized, and independence is punished. Matt's Veyron became a symbol of resistance to that future, not because he set out to make a political statement, but because he refused to accept that some things are unfixable by outsiders. And Bugatti, by refusing to help him, accidentally proved his point. If the parts exist, if the engineering is sound, and if the repair is possible, why should the manufacturer have the power to say no? The answer, of course, is profit, but profit dressed up as safety is harder to argue against. In the final videos of the series, Matt drives the car. Slowly at first, then faster. He does not take it to its top speed. He does not push it to the limit. He knows what's at stake. But he also knows that the car runs, that it handles, and that he'd built something Bugatti said could not be done. And for his audience, that's enough. The Veyron is not just a car anymore. It's proof that the system can be challenged, that exclusivity is a choice, not a law of nature, and that the most powerful brands in the world are only as strong as their ability to convince you that you need them. But here's the detail almost everyone misses. Matt did not beat Bugatti. He worked around them. The subframe is not certified, the car will never have a clean history, and if he tries to sell it, buyers will hesitate because they will know it was rebuilt outside the system. Bugatti did not lose. They just allowed him to exist in a space they don't care about, the gray market, where salvage titles and DIY repairs live. The real Bugatti customers, the ones who buy new, who service at Molsheim, who never question the bills, they're still safe inside the bubble. Matt is outside it, and Bugatti is fine with that, because his existence doesn't threaten theirs, it reinforces it. That is the most brutal part of the whole story. Matt thought he was beating the system, but the system never saw him as a threat. It saw him as a cautionary tale, a reminder to real Bugatti owners of what happens when you step outside the fold. You are free, but you are also alone. And in a world built on exclusivity, loneliness is the price of independence. The Veyron still sits in Matt's garage. It runs, it drives, and it represents something larger than itself. Not victory exactly, but refusal. A refusal to accept that ownership ends where the manufacturer says it does. A refusal to believe that complexity is the same thing as impossibility. And a refusal to let a brand, no matter how prestigious, decide what you are allowed to fix. The question is not whether Matt succeeded. The question is whether we are okay with a world where trying is treated as rebellion.